Hi, everyone. Welcome to MaxWeb Video Podcast. We are so honored to have my good friend and one of the smartest people I know with us today. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
I want to hear, we have a few more minutes to let people join. I want to hear what you were up to the last, few months.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about it today, but it was transitioning from Q4 to Q1, all the ins and outs of that, doing year end, year beginning. My company's been growing, hiring new people, and obviously just, trying to stay afloat in the ever-changing marketplace, that's out there. So other than that, been spending tons of time with my friends and family. Wife and kids are all doing great, so all in, I can't complain. How about you, family? How are you doing?
So happy to hear that. Same, honestly. I mean, and I'm hearing this more and more often. A lot of people took the time, the crazy time we are all experiencing as a positive to spend more time with the family. So while you heard a lot of the complaint stories in the beginning, as everything progressed, I really got a lot of great stories like, you know what, I'm spending a lot of time with my family. I'm doing great. And I'm so glad that you shared, right? It's the same scenario here, right? We plus we can focus more on our work. I mean, for a workaholic, being able to have all your team at home, it's great.
It is, yeah. We've been mostly satellite for years anyway. We did have some office space that we closed up. But, obviously having everybody locked in their home offices and, really, reachable at all times has been good. I think people are probably putting more hours than they ever have. So, but doing so on a more relaxed schedule almost. So.
I agree. And before we started, Joe and I had a tiny little conversation on how great is our industry because we actually are trying to help others. And Joe, you can share, but you said you got a few emails from people that were able to succeed with native.
Yeah, I do a fair amount of talks and lectures and speaking events, and you never know if your message is any good. Anyone's taking anything from it, but in the past 6 to 9 months, I've gotten probably 5 to 10 different emails from people that either watched me speak or seen a lecture or something like that, and have been inspired by it and moved some of their business over to native. And some people have quit their day jobs and are now full-time affiliates, or got out of Facebook and now are fully on native. And just to hear something like that, it's a little bit heartwarming knowing that what you're saying out there is helping people, as opposed to just speaking against a computer screen sometimes.
I agree. I mean, I get so excited and I usually try to tone it down, but it's the best when you hear the stories, when you have affiliates that are just getting started, fast forward a few months, and especially with native, because with native is true. You need to invest your own money. You need to really invest in your education. So it's not as easy. However, when you see people break through and being successful, and usually once they get to that successful point, they are financially doing really okay. It's the best thing. So, we are really hoping today with our podcast and, Joe being so gracious with sharing information with us, we truly believe we're going to help some of you guys, maybe a lot of you. So Joe, I know you have some slides prepared for us. If it's cool with you, I would love to see what you have prepared.
Yeah, so I just kind of talked about transitioning from Q4 into Q1, some tips about, offers to run or ways to focus or ways to manage campaigns, some overall strategy tips and kind of how we do things internally. And then we'll do some Q&A. I don't have a ton of nitty gritty details, but there's a lot of stuff you can answer in Q&A to show you some more details as well. So.
That sounds amazing. And we are so excited. We already have a lot of our friends on. Hi, guys. So, we'll get started. Look at those beautiful slides. Oh, my God.
I don't know how to do these. This was my graphics guy, so don't think I do any of this stuff myself. Don't worry about it. Just a little brief background on me. Those who don't know me, I'm the CEO of ROI Marketplace. We are an agency. We focus almost exclusively on native marketing, do a little bit of Facebook and stuff, but our primary focus has been native. So I've been doing this for about 15 years now. Started off with a company called Pulse 360, evolved into my own company about 6 years ago. And it's been great. I really can't complain. We found an open spot in the marketplace for people that really didn't understand native fully, and we decided to take that over as our main focus. And ever since then, the company's been doing well. So I can't complain at all. So kind of talking about Q4, and Q4 in native is great for some and tough for others. So your things like your health offers, your health and beauty offers, weight loss, feeling fit, anything like that just dries up. Things get really hard to market those. Obviously, the rates start to go up as brands start to get into native for the holiday shopping season. Now, that being said, certain offers do take off. Holiday shopping offers. People run a lot of the gadget type listicles that I'm sure everyone has seen, where it's the 20 coolest gadgets for Christmas this year. The arbitrage stuff tends to pick back up, which has been largely dead for a good part of the year. So all those things come to a head, and then right after Christmas Day, everything just changes dramatically. And I don't know, how much of your network is built around the holiday shopping season on it, but obviously we see a lot of different things happen, from really day after Thanksgiving right up until the day after Christmas.
I'm glad you said that, because it doesn't matter what type of niche or category you're used to running, different quarters and the seasons really impact how we do things, right? We are the lucky, I think we're very lucky because we do very well in quarter 1 as well. Mm-hmm. So that helps with health, and weight loss usually goes, I think it goes great in quarter 1.
It does, and it's all about staying topical, and we'll even get to that more in a second. But, those same offers tend to see huge drops in conversion rates in November and December. So if you're trying to, push a rock up a hill and still make those things work, it's very difficult. And some people are just stubborn and say, it's going to work no matter what I do because this offer is a good offer. And it's a matter of just being topical and thinking about what's on people's minds, right? And it's not around losing weight, or it's not around feeling healthy during the holidays. It's about, family time, obviously shopping for their family and loved ones, and all the things that kind of come into a head with that. And then really we're talking about transitioning right into Q1, and this happens directly after Christmas Day. We've seen, first and foremost, a major drop in competition out there. All the holiday shopping stops, the brand advertising stops, all those rates that were super inflated, the DSPs open up, everything gets to be much more competitive, or basically like a reset of the overall market bidding structure. On top of that, the conversion rates go way up. People want to get healthy again. They want to start to lose weight. We all packed on a few pounds due to, eating around the holidays, or just COVID in general, being in our houses. So things like weight loss offers, staying fit, all these things really start to skyrocket as people, get in that frame of mind. People want to get more financially stable. They start to think about how much debt did they incur? How can I be better about managing my finances in this new year? All these things are just a major, major shift in the marketplace. So the important thing is to stay topical, right? How do you evolve your marketing strategy to run offers that are going to greatly be in front of that type of mindset? And again, if you're still trying to push the gadget offers that were maybe working 3 weeks ago and wondering why your conversion rates dropped by 300%, it's a matter of people aren't thinking that way anymore. Yes, you can still get sales. Yes, you can probably still sell it and be profitable to some extent, but it's not going to be that hot offer that you can scale to super high levels. I'd imagine you guys probably saw a major increase in your volume on those offers, come January 1 for sure.
Crazy. I mean, I want to say 40% more traffic as soon as January hit. And the brilliant part, it continued through February and March. Which is great. I mean, you still have a lot of people shopping, but it's so important that you mentioned this, because we see too many affiliates that are getting started, and they get so excited when one of the offers works well. And if that happens to be an offer that does well in December, you see the struggle, and they want to really keep at it in January. But many times, it's when we say something is seasonal, we mean it, because we've seen it year in and year around.
I think every offer is somewhat seasonal, right? So we see these shifts all year long about this particular niche gets hot in March, April, and May, and this particular niche slows down in the summer, right? And people's frame of minds, back to school times, warmer weathers, shifts in the marketplace, stock market shifts, all these things can affect your advertising, right? To be honest with you, people don't realize that people are seeing your ads all the time. They're not. When they don't convert, they're not seeing your ads every single time they don't convert, right? It's a matter of just what that frame of mind is. And certain times of year are better for certain types of offers, period. You see it every single year in and year out.
I'm just gonna add something here real quick because I agree, and I have seen product owners who gave up on an offer because it wasn't converting for a couple of months. And with us, we've been doing this for a few years. We won't tell you how many because we are younger than we look. But I've seen it, beautiful offers that I knew they're gonna last. Come September, they will convert again. But product owners, if they don't see conversions for a couple of months, they freak out and they're like, okay, time to go and create a completely new offer. And that's not always the smartest approach.
No, and so obviously, we're on the agency side, right? So we're talking directly to these clients. We're spending their money for them. So we have these conversations starting in October. Hey, expect the holiday slowdown. Expect after November, things are going to really start to get slow for you guys. Your conversion rates are going to drop, less volume, all those things. Every year, it's just as bad as we think it's going to be. And every year it happens. You're never fully prepared for it. And if you can educate people about the seasonality, it tends to be a little bit easier to have those discussions. And obviously, we see their volume go down. We don't continue to spend money at a high rate if we're losing it because obviously business 101, right? But seasonality is just critical for a good marketing campaign. All right, so now we're transitioning from Q1 to Q2, right? What's going to change? At this point in time, we traditionally see the rates start to normalize a little bit. Again, they're super high in December, they're super low in January. Now they're starting to stabilize, right? So that probably where they're going to be throughout the remainder of the year until we get back into Q4. Budgets start to stabilize. People that were dumping a ton of money into January for weight loss offers because they're going to look, we're going to sell 1 million bottles of our diet pills by January 31st because that's when the New Year's dieters start to die off, right? All those things start to rationalize back to a normal level. Budgets are going to stabilize. All those things are going to be. Now, how do you ride this out and be profitable on a more consistent level? First and foremost, again, stay topical. Can't stress this enough. People are seeing your ads. People are clicking on your landing pages. The more topical you are, the better you're going to be. We ran some great campaigns right around election time. And in the US, when Joe Biden came in and Trump went out, people were very worried about their financial status, right? Their retirement funds. How am I going to make sure my 401ks are stable, my stock markets? Because there's the unknown of what's going to happen in the marketplace for the next 12 to 18 months. We saw a massive surge in alternative investment campaigns during that time. Conversion rates went up by 300 to 400%. Very high quality people who were looking to speak with financial type advisors. And it was one of our biggest campaigns, or a few of our biggest campaigns were all financial in Q1. That's starting to fizzle off a little bit. Okay, the initial surge of worry is over. Now what's the next thing that's going to kind of creep up, right? So you got to think about, okay, weather's warming up. People are getting outside. They want to be healthy. They want to stay fit. I'd imagine we don't have a client in that space, but online exercise has to be huge right now. Again, thinking about COVID, we're still not going to gyms. We're still not going out as much. Obviously, look at Peloton over the past couple of years. Right? Their business absolutely exploded because they have a perfect business model for COVID type stuff, right?
Right.
So staying very topical, I think, is key. Home improvements. People are going to start to, look to better their homes, all that. And I think a big point of this is riding inconsistencies, right? So we've ran a lot of Facebook in the past, and I think that, native's a bit more volatile. And I think it's like when you're on, you're on. There's certain weeks I feel like I'm the best media buyer in the world and my campaigns are all in the green and this is great and this is easy. And then there's weeks I look at my campaigns and I'm like, I can't get anything profitable. And it's a matter of understanding that, look, it's not making you a bad buyer. It's not meaning you do anything wrong. You just have to learn that when it's not converting that well, drop your bid down and kind of ride it out. I personally think it's very news driven. Whatever's in the news, I think, is going to very much impact your conversion rates, but it's a matter of just these cyclical things that we deal with week in and week out. I mean, I think 3 weeks ago, I had one of the best weeks in my company's history. This week, I'm looking at my numbers and I'm like, man, we're just a little bit off right now. And I can't pinpoint it. I can't say why it is. It's a matter of, riding it out per se.
I want to underline that for a second. So what you see in the news impacts our even conversion rates, dare I say, right?
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful concept. And you're not the first person that, kind of made an allusion to this. And what we were trying to tie it in the past is the customer behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as affiliates or as product owners, we tend to think the offer is everything. Mm-hmm. But we forget that we need the customers to purchase the offer, right? So I think it's brilliant and very wise to analyze the customer behavior. And that's what's going to help you with the content as well, right? Even if you don't think for your media buys, you're going to need a good headline, or, content is important because it goes to the psychology of the customer. So that's awesome.
It is, and we're going to kind of get into it in a second, but content is absolutely king, right? You got to sell to a need for the consumer, and you have to be factual and, sell something without being misleading. And I'm very big on that, right? So yes, you can use a little bit of scare tactics. Yes, that's marketing 101, right? Hey, are you secure in your financial service? Hey, do you like the way you look in the mirror, right? But you can't be misleading to people. You can't tell them your magic pill is going to help you lose 100 pounds in 2 weeks and you're never going to need to, diet again, right? Because that's just going to, A, make your business very short-lived, and B, it's going to make you unreputable on the internet, which is never a good thing.
100%.
Okay, this is kind of what we're leaning into, right, is choosing offers to outsmart your competitors, right? Again, looking at needs in the marketplace and picking out offers that are going to fit those needs. You don't want to advertise, a smart app for your phone to a 60-year-old demographic, right? You don't want to advertise alternative investments when the stock market is going through the roof and say, hey, be scared about your retirement income, even though the stock market's going crazy, right? It's staying topical and understanding what's happening in the marketplace and choosing things that, again, are going to outsmart your competitors. I'm always very big on finding unique offers. If you're running the exact same offer as 30 other people on the internet, it's very hard to make it profitable, in my opinion. You got to be, innovating in some way. But again, thinking about what's going to be the best things for what's currently going on in the market. So health-wise, again, we're looking at people that want to trim down, want to look better in their bathing suits, want to feel better. Again, I know I've gained some weight in the COVID times, right? We all want to kind of shed those pounds. We want to get back out in the sun, start feeling good about ourselves. Financially, we kind of hit on that already, but, the market, especially in the US, has been very volatile. And I don't really follow, foreign markets as much as I should, but I'm sure there's a lot of volatility happening around the world as well. Lead gen is huge for us in the summer. We see home improvement leads go through the roof. We do solar, we do roofing, we do windows, we do home heating and air conditioning systems. We do a lot of things like that. Insurances, life insurance, auto insurance. Mortgage has been huge for us in the past. I hear it's coming back this year as the rates again kind of normalize. So all that is kind of interesting. And then one thing that I think is interesting is list building. We're seeing more and more clients start to give up a little bit today to get a lot more tomorrow. And what I mean by that is they start to bucket people based on email signups. They offer, let's say, a free ebook or a free newsletter or something for people in a certain demographic. It might be, hey, if you have diabetes, check this out. Or, hey, if you are looking at stock investments, check this out. You collect those email addresses. Now you've got an actual asset that you can then market to time and time again. And if your content is good, it can be a very, very profitable way to run a business. We see a lot of our clients kind of not shifting to this business model, but adding this business model to their portfolio. Do you see your affiliates doing the same thing? Or?
Of course, absolutely. And not at first, right? So when you start dealing with new product owners, I think it's our job to help them, not necessarily educate them, because we're not trying to be, smarty pants, but it's we need to help them understand that, if the business model changes a bit, we've seen stuff like this work. So you're right.
Especially if your offer is a little bit more in the gray area, right? And again, I'm not advocating anybody run a dirty offer. I'm very against that. But if you're running, let's say, a CBD product, right? Not all networks are going to want to have that on their network. It's a legit brand. There's something wrong with it, but you're struggling to get approvals, right? We could do a simple email capture for anti-anxiety medications or something like that. Usually you can get emails for less than $2, a lot of times less than $1 on native. You drop those people in the responder series, as long as your conversion rate's about 1%, you're still making your CPA about $100, give or take a little bit. And on top of that, you're building a real asset that you can then market to over and over and over again. You got to give it up. It's not something where it's, hey, I'm going to spend $100, make 150. But, if you have a long-term play in mind, especially product owners, it's a great way to really add a lot more value to your portfolio.
Yep. And I think a lot of the new product owners, I think they understand this better because they hear the horror stories and the war stories of product owners that maybe, they went too aggressive in their first year. And how many of those are still around? Not
100%.
many, right? So I think people are starting to learn from other people's mistakes, which it's a good thing, right? That's what we want.
It is. And, I think the more people educate themselves about that, the less flash in the pan type clients you're going to have, right? We've all seen that offer pop up, spend a couple $1 million in 60 days, then it's just gone, it never comes back, right? A lot of times it comes down to processing issues or doing something incorrectly, but sometimes just not about that long-term, play. I'm all about long-term business. I don't want to make $100,000 on month one and then $0 on month two. I think that, more stable business is better for everybody.
100%. That's how we do things. And I'm so humbled to say, we've built such a good brand in a short period of time. And that's why. I mean, I think it's common sense, but look at these guys. I mean, Joe, he's made more money online than a lot of people I know. So it works. Like, be a good person and have a good morals.
It is. We've given up a lot of revenue by not running dirty offers, and we get them thrown on our plate sometimes, and we know that offer could take off and spend a ton of money, and we make our bottom line on it, but it's just not the business I ever want to be in. And let's be honest, I'm sure you deal with this, those guys don't get paid a lot of times. So if I rack up $250,000 in debt for someone, they have their mids locked up on them, and I don't get paid on that traffic, that's hard, right? That's not any business wants to deal with. So I'd much rather take a little bit less and be stable for the long-term growth.
I'm glad you brought that up also. We had in the last year so many affiliates that came to us because they were burned. They were burned and because they didn't get paid by product owners. So you do have the good product owners, but this is why, to any product owner watching, that's why affiliates will many times choose a network, or they'll be terrified of talking to you because they got burned so many times. It's not just a story you hear every so often. It's actually almost every other week I hear a crazy story of, like, we're talking about $500,000 bills of writing media buys and not getting paid. So be careful. This is for the affiliates too, right? There are many offers we don't handle on MaxWeb, right? So we are happy to refer you, but if we won't be able to refer you to product owners many times unless we know for sure they paid their bills, right? So it just makes sense.
It does. We hear it too. People getting burned for $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. How do you sustain that as a business, right? And I guess if you're living in a world where it's all fake money and it's nothing's going to matter long term, then maybe you can just get by week to week with that. But not the business I've chosen for sure.
100%.
And then kind of the last point here, and something that I've been really trying to shift my business towards, is going international. So the U.S. rates are ridiculously expensive. We fight, every single day for, branded U.S. content, and we see the rates, $1, $1.50, $2, $3 a click for premium content. That's hard to make work, right? It's great for the business that Native has evolved to a point where it's gotten that competitive, but it also makes it harder to make some of these other offers work. So we have had a huge focus on going international. And that's a matter of, lead gen or product sales or anything like that. And it's the same things all hold true. It's a matter of finding the need inside that marketplace, inside that country, inside that audience, and selling a product to that need. We've had some great wins over the past year, campaigns in France, and we had one in Singapore. I think we won in Indonesia. Just these little campaigns that pop up, and they're great campaigns. And they're, if you can kind of find those offers that are a great fit across the countries, you're going to see rates 300, 400, 500, 600% less than you're going to pay in the US. The conversion rates aren't quite as good, but it's definitely a balancing act between the two.
It is. A lot of our clients that are here, they already run on MaxWeb, and there are offers that actually, ship internationally. And it's so beautiful for us, especially on native and social, because that's, the bigger chunk of our traffic. You're right. You guys, I promise I did not tell Joe to put anything in here. It's you see it works. International traffic, it's such a great opportunity. So I'm glad to see you confirm that for us.
It is, and even more so non-English speaking international, right? If you can find an offer that's written in Spanish and you've got great translation teams and you can push that offer out to Spanish speaking geos, you're going to be paying pennies on the dollar for a premium US click, right? And again, I know conversion rates don't match up 1-to-1, but at that point in time, it's a math game, right? And I personally, I've seen some offers absolutely explode by that. We had an offer in France that did amazing. It was a silly little lead gen offer for home improvement in France that actually took off and was massive for us. I wish I had 20 more of those offers popping in my inbox every single week because they're just, they're super great to run. Let's put it that way.
Agreed. We have several French offers on MaxWeb, so we're on the same page.
Couldn't agree more. Cool. So well, I figured I'd cover this, even though most people probably understand this slide, but why not cover it anyway? I always look at diversifying my ad spend, right? And really the reason that my company has been successful is we don't just focus on one traffic source because there's a lot of volatility amongst traffic sources. A big client can come in on Taboola and throw the whole network off for a couple of days because they're buying premium spots all day on MSN, right? So it's important to stabilize yourself by running on a lot of different sources, and it helps you see a lot less volatility across your ad spend. So, maybe one day Taboola's having a great day, but Rev Content's terrible. Maybe 2 days from now that might switch. And then maybe I see a great day from one of my push traffic sources. And maybe the rates get super low in the DSPs and Central and Zamanta and Verizon all take off, right? All these things are constant, obviously things to watch and work through. Now, admittedly, it's a lot of work. I'm lucky to have a great team in place that's able to manage this, with me, alongside me, in a lot of cases, better than me. But we see so much more stability by diversifying our ad spend. So I look at like our tier 1 sources are the ones we all know about: Taboola, Outbrain, Gemini, Rev Content, right? And Rev Content is recently, in my opinion, gone from a tier 2 to a tier 1 network. They've become phenomenal traffic for us over the past, 12 months, 18 months.
I'm seeing the exact same thing, and we spend a lot of time with a lot of our affiliate partners. We have a great relationship with Rev Content, and it wasn't like this a couple of years ago, but now I can recommend it without feeling bad because I know they're going to deliver. So glad you said it.
Yep, and then we have our kind of our tier 2 or secondary sources, which got a lot of great traffic in them. And that's going to be your MGIDs, content ads, tap natives, ad blades, and TiVos, and so on, right? And then we do a lot of push traffic as well. So push, I kind of put in the same umbrella as native, even though it's a little bit different. But I still run it in a very similar mentality. It's a small image with a text ad, etc. A lot more garbage in it for sure, but it's a lot cheaper priced than it is going to be on the premium content. So, we're buying on Propeller and Pushnami and Zero Park, the Advertiser, AdCash, RTX, and a bunch of others. So. Then I kind of touched on the DSPs. That gets very tough depending on how competitive the rates are. Or we buy a decent amount of like volume and Verizon. Centro has been a great partner of ours. Zamanta was huge with us, although they've gotten a little bit more tricky lately because they're now following very strict Outbrain type guidelines. So they got a little bit tougher to buy on. But we've spent hundreds of thousands or millions on some of these platforms.
No, do you mind if I ask you a question about DSPs? Because we're trying to do more with that. And on First Contact, they told us we need to spend $60K a year. Like, is that, common or not really?
It is, but if you break that down, it's $5K a month. I mean, really, what is that from a media buy perspective?
I agree. I just wanted to make sure it's not like, it's common, right? It's not like, oh, these guys, I'm going to make them pay more.
It is. No, it is. And, again, there's a lot of value behind that. Now, no, you are paying more for the traffic, right? Because obviously they have to make their money. They mark their stuff up by 10 to 20%. So when you're buying a click on Outbrain, you're paying 20% more than buying that click on Outbrain directly. But the nice part is you can sit in one traffic source and you can manage, 30 different ad networks all from one seat. And you really just set up a lot of whitelists and things you can't do at the account level. Which is hugely beneficial. Now, admittedly, it's a bit more work, and if you're not careful, you could spend a lot of money very unintelligently. But if you're on top of your things, you can really be pretty beneficial there. And then kind of the last way we buy traffic is just by direct site buys. So what we'll honestly do is we'll see a good looking site. We see native as well in here. We'll call them up direct and say, hey, I want to buy that ad spot. What's it going to cost us? And we just negotiate either a CPM or a flat rate. And that's been huge for us really for the past, couple of years. Not all sites allow it. We do some of the big boy buys on like MSN and AOL where it's like, 20, 30, 40, 50K for a day. We also do some of the small buys where it's like $500 for the month. And those campaigns, you kind of set it and forget it sometimes. But when you check in at the end of the month and you've made a couple 100% on them, it still really helps your bottom line.
Yep, absolutely. I'm so glad to see some of the names on there on tier 2. We our affiliates do a lot of content ad, for example. So that's awesome.
They've been around a long time. They've got a lot of really good traffic sources inside their network. They have some crap that you have to weed out, but that's every network, right? I mean, Taboola's got traffic I don't want either, right? I mean, every single network has those same issues. So as long as you're being intelligent about it, you can really kind of make things happen, which kind of leads us right into our next question is API versus no API, right? So I think, in my opinion, to every massive spend level, you'd have some kind of API in place. Now, I will admit, 2 years ago, when I was given a chat about this, I was fully API. I refused to put network pixels on my pages because I thought what happened is, and it did happen to be honest with you, if I give Outbrain my data, they sell to my competitors, right? Hey, we have this campaign doing very well. You should do the same thing. Same thing on Taboola, same thing on Red Contest and network-wide industry. So I was super against any kind of pixels by the network levels. Everything I ran was via API. We use the optimizer personally. I've also used Brax and Maximus and AdGenius and some others out there. They're all great. Optimizer is just kind of my go-to. So I had 100 rules all day running through different platforms, pausing based on engagement rates and conversion rates and all that. So we still do that, but now we are starting to let the network pixels kind of do some of the work for us. So companies like Taboola and Outbrain and Gemini are starting to get more Facebook-y, where they're allowing the pixels to be a little bit more intelligent, right?
Yeah.
You can now audience target, you can lookalike target, you can demo target, and the pixels are starting to smart bid or auto-optimize based on your conversion rates. So while I would never say don't use an API, we are starting to use less rules in our API and letting the network do some of the work for us also.
I agree. We do the same. It's no secret. We do a bit of media buys internally too. We mainly do it to test the offers because at the time when we go and present it to the affiliates, we want to make sure it's decent, right? It's our reputation on the line. So long story short, right? The media buyers were always like terrified of the pixels for the same reasons you explained, because we've been at conferences and we had one of the reps at one of the big networks like, this is what works. You should do the same placement. It's how the industry works, right?
Yep.
On one hand, it makes sense. However, I agree with Joe because we have noticed with Facebook, their intelligence, we had campaigns live on Facebook with almost no manual work. That's amazing. So then we figured, what if it works on native? And many times with some of the top networks, it worked. Basically, they did some of the work for us.
Yeah, absolutely dead on. And, so we have our rules running for like engagement rates, right? So we optimize heavily by engagement rate. And we factor that as who reads my pre-sale page and goes on to step 2 in the process. So we're still blocking people off heavily for that. We block off by CPA. We're increasing and decreasing bids by CPA and all the certain things. But, while maybe a year ago I had 60 rules built in Optimizer, I might now have like 20, and having the network do more work for us. So I still think API is critical. I would never run a campaign without it. But we are migrating to less and less, need for it. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Researching your offer, and this kind of comes into outsmarting your competitors, but don't just log into a platform, pick out an offer, throw it against a wall and say, why am I losing money, right? There's a lot of tools out there. Most of these are paid tools, but they're worth the investment, especially if you want to really kind of focus on native. But one thing I will say here is don't steal your competitor's shit. I hate that. I hate people that log in, take their landing pages, take their offers, take all of their images, throw it up there and try to outsmart them, right? 2 factors. One, you're not going to win. Because if they're the top advertiser in that ad spot and you're taking their headline, you're going to pay more for the same traffic they're already paying for, like just based on how the algorithms work, right? So I hate people that do that. I'm not going to say I've never stolen a headline in my life, but really try to be unique, right? And when you see a campaign take off is when you do put out unique headlines, unique content, and you get better than your competition. So again, selling to that need, research an offer that makes sense for you. Think about something you really want to be into, right? What are you passionate about? What do you know a lot about? What do you think you can write good content around? Because, first and foremost, content's going to be king for anything that you do here.
I'm glad you shared this. Yesterday, when we announced the podcast, we actually we like to include a bit of content for the affiliates. So the information we send out there, it's not spammy in any way. So long story short, we actually included a bunch of spy tools, a few of them that I've just noticed on your screen, because with
Go back and show those two.
yeah, no, it's beautiful, and I'm glad that you shared those two, because it's important. I mean, if you want to get to that next level, it's important to know what's working and what a lot of the brilliant people out there do. But do not copy content.
Yeah, I'm very big on it. Look, I mean, obviously you can take ideas from it. Again, I'm not going to say I've never stolen an image or a headline in my life, but I really try not to. Right? We try to be better than that. We have copywriters that are pushing out content for us weekly, and they're researching and they're finding ads and images and headlines from competitors, and they're flipping those out to various variations to try to outdo them. Right? Small increases in CTRs can make a big increase in your conversion rates if you're careful about it.
Beautiful.
Okay, pre-sale pages, content is king, right? This is a hugely important thing for any type of native marketing. Very different than Facebook, very different than YouTube, very different than any other platform out there, right? Is how do you educate your consumers, again, without misleading them? In my opinion, the easiest way to get people at the bottom of your funnel is to put more people on the top of your funnel. Very simple, right? So by doing that, you have content that's more engaging, therefore more people are making it from point A to point B. So think about it kind of like this, right? If my current CTR from my landing page or my pre-sale to my offer page is at 15%, right? If I can increase that 15 to 20 and my conversion rate stays the same, what's that increase in my or decrease in my CPA going to look like? And mathematically, it's the exact same drop. So we're always testing pre-sale pages. I've got a full-time guy that all he does all day is flip out pre-sale pages for me. He's trying different color schemes, different layouts, right rail, left rail, different headlines, different lead-ins, adjusting bottom, adding widgets. I mean, all day, every day. We find wins, we build in those wins. If we have losses, we pull down those losses. But putting out good content, again, if you suck as a writer, hire somebody. There's a million freelance writers out there that'll work for you for very reasonable rates. And if even it costs you a couple $100 for a good pre-sale page, you're going to make that up 100 times over as that takes off. I mean, this is, I think, where people fall off in the business is they get cheap and they get lazy. And they just say, hey, I'm going to log into AdBeat. I'm going to rip somebody's landing page. I'm going to throw up their landing page. I'm going to try to do the same thing they're doing. We see the biggest leaps and bounds by having good content. We had a campaign, I think it was 3 years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, direct link into a VSL, and it was doing well and it was making money. We found this pre-sale page adjustment and small little, it was like honestly about 4 sentences, increased by 400% ROI on day one with that. Campaign went through the roof, was our biggest spender for like 3 months. So invest in it, put some time behind it. If you can't write it, hire someone to write it.
I've said this many times. So again, guys, I promise Joe and I did not speak before the podcast, but I agree. And so many times, we have brilliant affiliates that say, you know what, I'm good at media buys, but I'm a terrible content writer. And time again, I say that's fine. We have so many copywriters in the industry, and I promise you, it's not costly. Even
It's not bad.
Guys, it's not bad, and the investment, it's really worth it.
It is. Yeah, we've got somebody on staff personally, but we've used freelance guys as well. And you're not talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars of cost to build out these pages, right? You can find them very reasonable and very good. Then once you get someone you're comfortable with, obviously you can work with them on a long-term basis. But to be constantly tweaking these intros, these headlines, this content is just so critical for a successful campaign.
Agreed.
All right, here's a slide I love a lot, is how to lose money in native marketing, right? And I've made every single mistake on this list, but I think this is really bears to attention, something we can all live by. So number one way to lose money is no strategy, right? And that's lack of any kind of planning, lack of any kind of demographic planning, lack of any kind of content planning. It's just saying, I'm going to throw up 30 images and headlines without any targeting on all devices and see what happens, right? Great, but you're going to lose money on it almost every single time, unless the offer is just a God offer that converts at 10x anything else out there. Plan your things out, do your research, spend time, take the extra half an hour to invest in researching a campaign as opposed to throwing that campaign out and losing money on it. Number two, we've already covered, but it's mimicking your competitors and paying more. If you see somebody on MSN, you steal their entire ad and their entire flow, you're going to pay more for that traffic. They've been there for a while. They've been probably feathering their bids down for the past, 30 days, 60 days, who knows? So if they're paying 40 cents and you're paying 75 cents for that same click, you can lose a whole bunch of money. God bless you. But, I think it's better to kind of, be unique. Improper campaign setup. We personally set things up device, headline, and then test images. There's other ways to do it. That's how I set things up. But setting things up, again, without the proper steps and strategies and just kind of hoping for the best, you're going to lose money for almost every single time. And then a couple more points. One, I think, is just being stubborn and bullish, right? So I do this all the time. I think I can make any campaign work. I'm trying different angles out, different things, kind of, make something work. It's just not going to be profitable. Sometimes understand that, look, that's a campaign. Either you need to set it and forget it at a low ad spend, or you have to understand it's just not going to be a profitable campaign for you. Getting lazy, I think, is a big one. I think sometimes, we get a campaign working and we think it's going to be easy for the next, 12 months, and we just walk away from it. These things need constant attention, constant split testing, constant, innovations on. So just because you're making money today, you may lose money on it tomorrow. And I think this is my most important point, is messing with a profitable campaign. When something is working, when something is spending, when something is good, don't touch it. Don't adjust your ad copy. Don't throw new ads into rotation. Don't add new images into rotation. The second you do that, you throw a whole new monkey wrench into your campaign that could throw things off. I don't know how many times in my career I've had a campaign spending well, making money. I say I'm going to dump in 2 new headlines, see what can happen with it, right? And the campaign goes to hell. Still adjust your bids. Obviously, when things are hot, crank your bids up for the day. If things are not doing as well that day, you can pull it back. But if something is working and making you money, leave it the hell alone and set things up in a brand new campaign. Keep working on it. Keep, testing new headlines, new images, and new pages, but don't do it in a profitable campaign.
Those are really good. Really good.
A couple more slides and we'll leave enough time for a Q&A. Optimizing live campaigns, things that we're doing all day, every day. So pre-sale versus, pre-sale pages, long versus short, right? So a short pre-sale page is meant to tease somebody, give them a little nugget of information so they hopefully watch your video or go into your lead form or go into your long form, right? Not a lot of content with them. They're a bit of a scare tactic, short content, very high engagement rates. We see CTRs between 30 to 70% on these types of pre-sale pages, and obviously conversion rates that hopefully will be decent. Then there's long form pre-sales, right? So long form is a lot more content. The CTRs will be a lot lower, but they're going to convert a lot higher once people make it from page A to page B. Those are going to have the selling points behind your product, the ins and outs behind your product, the reasons why you should do business with them, as opposed to the short one meant to just get you on to the next step in the funnel. And then there's the VSL stuff, right? So I think you guys have a ton of VSL products. We do a lot of VSLs.
Right.
To use a pre-sale or not to use a pre-sale. We almost always do, and it's the short pre-sales. So it's very Facebook ad type short pre-sale pages, small image, maybe 3 or 4 lines of text, just meant to tease somebody to educate them why they got to watch that video or why they're going to spend the next 30 minutes of their life watching your video, right? So it also helps you optimize, because then you can then see your engagement rates from page A to page B and make quick adjustments on the fly for that. This other stuff we kind of mostly already covered, investing in your pre-sale pages, being strategic about your ad testing, setting realistic goals, I think is important. Not some campaigns are a $500 a day campaign. That's all they are, and that's fine. Don't try to make a $1,000 a day campaign of a $500 a day campaign. It's just not worth your time or effort. I'd rather make 20% ROI in 500 than lose 20% on 1,000, right? Why would you not? And then again, we covered most of this, but audience targeting, demos, AIs versus manual campaigns, remarketing, I think is so important. And another important point here, and something I push a lot, is stop only caring about MSN. I hear affiliates that all they want to be in is MSN, MSN.com, MSN, great. It's a great site. We do a ton of advertising on there, but there's a lot of impressions out there in the world. MSN's only a small fraction of those. So every site has a value. Every site has a bid point where they make money for you. And there's a lot more sites in the world than MSN.
I've said that many times too. So now it's my time to tell everyone, I told you so.
Cool. And I think we've covered most of this again, but we'll just kind of fly through this last couple slides. A couple helpful tips is just thoroughly researching your offer, paying attention to your copywriting. In your ads, images get the CTR, but headlines get the conversions, so it's great to have a super high CTR, but if it's just a high CTR, no conversion on the back end, you got to find that happy middle ground, right? So we've always found the best way to increase CTR is by having better images, but the headline is going to be where you get your actual conversions from. And then I had a client call it this one time, but it's the best way I can put it is find your God image, right? So for some reason, you find this one image and your campaigns just tend to go through the roof. They click better, they convert better, they do amazing, right? Find that image and then hold on to that image for as long as you can. We see this happen a lot. We see once this image is found, that our campaigns spend exponentially from then on out. And then a couple more things is just if it's not working, turn it off. Again, stop trying to be bullish and stubborn. If something's not making you money after a fair amount of time, try something different. Try to innovate some new ideas. And then again, we kind of talked on this part, but knowing your weaknesses. If you're not a good copywriter, go hire one. If you're not good with Photoshop, go hire a designer. If you really want to invest behind your campaigns, you're not going to be profitable unless you kind of do the extras.
I agree. Really good stuff. We should have.
That's it.
I should have paid you more than a big hug and virtual smile for this. This is amazing. I'm going to pull my Skype in a second because a lot of affiliates messaged us last night, because of the time zone, not everyone was able to join. But first, I'll take some of the ones we have live here. So, Tim, can you please tell me what your average return on investment is for native? Longevity, I think you can see the question too.
I can. So minimum we shoot for is 10 to 20%. We have campaigns that are 200% and campaigns that are 5%. If anything is profitable, we usually keep it going. And longevity, man, we have got campaigns that I've been running for 5 years and have barely touched. We've got campaigns that fizzle out in 30 days. A lot of it is, again, riding out the seasons and knowing that, hey, we're coming into this season for this client. But if you can be above 20% on a campaign steadily, you're in a pretty good spot. And noted, everything we do is in a 7-day look-back window. So native is very volatile. If you make money one day and lose money the next day, look at how you're doing overall for the last 7.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. We have a lot of affiliates that are, once they are doing really well with an offer, usually it happens over the weekend, right? We have 3 days of a high conversion rate, and then, come Monday or Tuesday, the conversion rate is going to be lower. Right? So we always have the questions like, is something broken? Is something technically off? Or, something happened with the mids? And, we understand we always look into stuff, right? But with time, we are very good, and I'm sure the product owners you work with are very good about making sure that there are no technical issues with the campaigns. And that's great advice, right? So look at the last 7 days, because it's going to be really hard for you if you go based on, what happened in the last 24 hours to really determine if it's a good offer or not. So basically, don't give up after just 3 days of testing.
Yep, and VSLs tend to be better on weekends. People have got more time to sit at their computer, and they can watch a video versus during the workday. But noted, we see a lot of people start the video on Tuesday and then finish the video on Saturday. So it's not saying turn off your campaigns during the week, because that'd be crazy as well. But if you're looking at your timestamp versus your actual conversion dates, you see a lot of people click on day 1 and convert on day 5 because they finish the video then.
Beautiful, great advice. All right, Adonis, for a beginner, do you recommend DSP or directly?
I would do direct if you're a beginner. I would pick one network, maybe 2. Learn it, find your controls, find your headlines, find your comfort levels, and then go from there. I think Taboola and Rev content are the easiest to manage, personally. I think Outbrain's a little bit trickier, but it depends on the offers you're running. If you're running a diet offer, you're not going to get either of them probably. Then you're probably looking at like MGID or content ad maybe, or some others. But I would say direct is definitely best for beginners.
Amazing. That's really good. All right. So now I'm going to pull here some questions. This one is from Joel. Hey, I run a lot of VSLs, usually health. Think about stuff that baby boomers would buy. I'm doing Facebook now, but I want to do more native. Can you specifically tell me 2, 3 ad networks that would work well?
Depends on how aggressive your offer is. I would say Taboola, Rev Content, and probably MGID are all pretty good ones to start with. I would definitely put a pre-sale page in just to kind of weed out and find your placements quickly. Block off anything that's below a certain CTR, which is usually anything less than 10 or 20%, and that varies again a lot by BSL. But learn it then, try to transfer over your best headlines and go from there. And you can probably, quite honestly, take your winning headline or your winning ads from Facebook and build those into pre-sale pages for native.
Beautiful advice. You're good. You're really good. All right, Joanna, thank you. You're welcome. We love you. Okay, as you said, native is volatile. So how does a new product with limited budget can be effectively utilized in choosing a platform?
So, again, it's all about looking over a 7-day window. So if you've got a $500 budget, per week, and break it out evenly, and then find the days that convert the best and move the budget to those days. I see a lot of clients that, they want to set campaigns up to scale, and all they care about is scaling. And it's like, well, wouldn't you rather scale when things are profitable? Because no one's got unlimited scale based on losing money. So, find some niches, even if it's only 4 or 5 sites that are working well for you. Build your platform there, get your controls in place, get profitable, and then you can take those same learnings to new testing.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to take another one here from Andrew. So Andrew asked, he said, I am doing a lot of Facebook currently, but I'm putting money aside for native. Good for you. What is a good amount that I should have saved because I'm going to be a brand new native affiliate? I think like, okay, because he has a plan, right, Andrew? I know Andrew, he's a good affiliate. So he has a plan. He's doing Facebook. He wants to try native. And he knows usually you need a bit of money aside. Like, you're not going to spend $5K the first week, but you need a bit of money to really give native a proper try.
It does. I mean, so I hate the what does it take to be profitable or those types of budgets because it varies so much, right? So I'll be fully honest with you. I set up most of my campaigns at $35 to $50 a day in initial testing, right? We don't go out and spend $500 a day in a brand new test. I mean, if they're working, we scale them. But we learn things quickly and intelligently. So, you could get started for a couple $100, learn what's doing better for you, and then work to scale down the road. I think 3 to 5K is probably a decent overall budget before you kind of walk away from it. But again, it varies so much. I mean, there's campaigns you turn on day one, you think you're a genius because you're making money. And there's campaigns that take, months to get profitable. And it's not always the advertiser or the offer. It's just sometimes just the way it is.
100%. Thank you. All right, Pete, how do you determine placements in MGID, yet they give an ID instead of the URL?
We just block it by engagement rates. So if we know a traditional profitable CTR for us is 10%, then we're launching MGID, we might block anything less than 5%. And we add those into what we call like a blacklist bucket. Optimizer does a very good job here where you can set up blacklists. You can automatically block new campaigns from them. So that's how we do it. Quite honestly, the site name isn't important to me. It's all about how well they perform for us.
Awesome. Beautiful. Okay. Amit asked, what is a good course for native? I think he means like an affiliate course, right?
Yeah, so I actually spoke on one that James Van Ellick wrote, which is nothing but natives. That's about a year old now. It's really great. James is one of the big authorities in the landscape about that. He also does Geek Out, which is a little bit more high end for product owners, but it's an opportunity to really engage with people. So I would say nothing but natives is the one I recommend.
Nothing but natives. Well,
Yep.
We get the question a lot, right? So we actually started compiling a document to be able to share with affiliates, and this came out a lot. So not just from you, because you just mentioned, you were speaking there, but it's actually coming up a lot. So I mean, it's good to give it a try.
It is. I've been dying to put one together myself, but I don't have the time, unfortunately. But
Oh my gosh. You should.
I'd love to do one, but we'll see if I ever get over time.
Because I know our affiliates would buy it. I mean, honestly, we have so many affiliates that, they just want something that actually works. And sadly, you have a lot of courses out there that are, I'm going to be kind when I say this, they were written by people that don't actually succeed with native. Right? So I want to be very careful every time I ask someone about this. I want to make sure it's someone that actually, obviously like yourself, you actually make money from this on a constant basis.
There's a lot of fake gurus out there, and quite honestly, there's a lot of free content out there as well. If you spend some time on YouTube, you can find some really intelligent people that are pushing out talks like this for free, where you can learn a lot from them. So paid courses are great, and there's some really good content out there, but there's a lot of good free content also.
I agree. All right, Adonis, how many whitelist widgets are recommended to scale on, I think, ref content?
Varies. So most networks, you can't run a pure whitelist anymore. You can hack it through optimizing and through some API tools, but you can't just pick a pure whitelist. As far as how many widgets, I would say how many does it take, right? So we've got campaigns like Taboola lets you block 1,500 publishers. So we got campaigns, we block all of those. We have campaigns, we only block 10 publishers, right? And it varies a lot by the offer that we're running. So I used to love back in the day picking out 20 different publishers from like Outbrain and bidding super high in those publishers in a whitelist and only bidding on those. But those days are unfortunately gone. So how many? I mean, again, I'd say a couple hundred at minimum is what you're probably going to get down to in most cases.
Brilliant. All right. So, Jerry, I have 3 offers right now that I'm trying to scale on native. Is that enough? Or usually it's better to test multiple offers at the same time? Right, so I think Gary, what he means, like usually with Facebook, because we do have a lot of affiliates that do a lot of Facebook, and I noticed this beautiful trend last quarter where people are wanting to give native a try. I personally love it. I always vouch for it. I think they mean how many offers at the same time? Should they stick with one offer, focus on optimizing that, or it's cool to pick several campaigns and run with those?
I think it depends on your bankroll. So if you're a guy who's willing to lose some money, then test 3, 5, 10 offers. Who cares, right? Something's going to hit and you're going to be profitable at that point in time. But, if you're a little bit smaller, you don't want to, go in the hole big time. I'd pick 1 or 2. Again, do your research though. Don't just spray and pray offers. Really think about an offer before you launch it. Think about, is the timing right? Is the time of year right? Is it serve a need? I mean, what's my demographics for this offer? All those same questions you'd ask yourself before launching a Facebook campaign.
That's awesome. Well, I have a question too. I'm allowed, right?
Yeah.
I want to know, so when you work with product owners, give me some advice of important things we should ask from product owners to make sure we're going to have a profitable campaign. For example, we know that it's important to ask for good communication, for them to be able to place pixels. What else? Because I really want to make some of the product owners succeed, but it's hard without giving them specifics. Like, we want to run on native. We want to make sure we get A, B, and C from you, right?
Yeah, so the technical side is important. Obviously, can you support postbacks? What CRM do you use? What are your current EPCs? Where are you currently buying traffic? Have you tried native in-house? If so, how'd it go? What were the offers? What was your ROI like for those? I think a super important thing for offer owners is attribution, right? So think about native as first touch, right? A lot of times you're introducing an offer to an audience. It's a cold offer. They haven't seen that product before. That product converts down the funnel. You still get credit for that sale if they convert on a Facebook remarketing page or whatnot. And if not, do they factor that into your CPA? Because we see a massive spike in branded search, Amazon sales, Facebook remarketing when our native campaigns pick up. Now, we don't always get credit for those, but if they're intelligent and they understand that the value that it's bringing to their bottom line, you can negotiate higher payouts, maybe a profit share or something like that. And I would ask, how stable is your company? How long have you been around? What's your monthly like? How many employees do you have? Questions like that. If it's a simple guy who's using a fulfillment center to run a product out of his basement, well, yeah, that might make some money, and maybe he will be around for 5 years and build a profitable business. But as a network owner like yourself, he may be also that high risk kind of person that's going to, have trouble down the road. So stabilization, I think, is super critical.
That's super helpful. Thank you so much, Joe. Well, I promise 1 hour. As much as I would love to have you here for another one, and we will soon, right? It's just like last summer. It doesn't mean we cannot bug you again with questions, but for everyone watching and everyone listening, I would love for them to take, what is your number one piece of advice? Like, if you want them to take one brilliant advice from all our entire podcast today, what would that be?
Diversify. Don't think that Facebook's the best and native's the best or Google's the best or Amazon is the best. Think about your budget like an ecosystem where all things are feeding into each other. Have your funnel set up where you're dropping push notification on people's pages, you're dropping pixels. Make sure you're diversified in everything that you're doing, because you're gonna be a lot more stable that way.
That is gold, you guys. That is gold. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Joe. I love and appreciate you, and this was so valuable.
Anytime. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching MaxWeb Video Podcast. We love you. And as always, just subscribe and you'll get a lot of awesome content like this. And we are going to share, if Joe is okay with this, his email or at least the website with you guys. So in case you want to contact him, if you're a product owner and you need a good agency, it might be a really good fit. So
absolutely. Thanks, guys.